It also helps through our own grief journey too, seeing our parents and our family figure out their grief journey as well. And they're not just stuck in the mud, that they're also getting out there and working on themselves too through the grief too, because it just doesn't touch the parents. It touches the family, extended family, friends, anybody. Yeah.
Welcome back to the No Fit Too Small podcast. My name is Jackie Selsky. I'm the Marketing and Communications Director at No Fit Too Small. And today we have an extra special Father's Day episode sponsored by Carson Wealth. So we are so grateful to them for helping us hold space for conversations around just dads. And we have some really special dads with us today. So it's going to be a great conversation. I'm joined by Jay and Steve Peterson. So welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just to be clear, you are father-son.
Yes, correct. Yep, correct.
And Jay, you are an ambassador for No Fit Too Small, right?
Correct. Yep, I'm one of the dad ambassadors.
Yeah.
Kind of one of the original dad ambassadors.
One of the OGs.
One of the OGs.
Yeah.
Yep,
Would you mind sharing just a little bit about what you do in that role?
Yeah, so kind of for the men's ambassadors is to kind of just walk alongside dads as well. I know it's kind of an untapped area for grief and loss and things like that. But, you know, I host the in-person groups here in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area. There are a couple other dads that do Des Moines and Dubuque, and then also help lead the virtual men's groups as well. So kind of just hosting those, walking dads through their lost journeys as well, and just kind of being there for anybody that needs to talk.
I love that.
Yep.
We're so grateful for the time that you've poured into that to make sure that we have that for our fathers. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about yourselves. Did you raise your family here in this area? Or are you originally from Iowa?
We are, and we're from Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
They grew up in Cedar Rapids. So I was originally from Clear Lake, born in Clear Lake, Iowa, but came to Cedar Rapids when my dad took a job at Collins Radio and left back in the 60s and never left.
I love that.
Born and raised here.
This is home. Yep. Yeah, this is home. That's great. Well, I kind of want to give you the floor, Jay, just to share a little bit about your story, whatever you feel comfortable. I know you and your wife, Natalie, and your son, Hayes, is really who brought you to No Fit Too Small. Okay. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about how you found us, that would be great.
Yeah. So our angel is Hayes Arthur Peterson. He was born into heaven October 11th of 2020. He is our second child. I like to use that phrase that he is. I know a lot of dads and families, they say, was, because they're not here physically on earth, but we have kind of made that a point in our family that he is our second child. We have an older son, Grayson. He was 2 at the time. Everything was going fine during the second pregnancy with Hayes until it wasn't. My wife, she works at the University of Iowa. She was a nurse practitioner on the surgical neuro floor, and she was working nights. And a few days prior, we had a non-stress test, ultrasound and everything checked out fine from the doctors. And then about a day or two later, my wife was working night and she just didn't feel right. She ended up going to get checked out and found out that there was not a heartbeat anymore. She called me that evening and I rushed up to the hospital and they did more tests and discovered that he did not have a heartbeat. Kind of with our story, he was 33 weeks, so he was stillborn.
Wow. We
don't really have any answers for ours. I know there are some families that know directly what the cause was. With us, we still don't know. We decided as a family not to put him through an ultrasound. Oh, not an ultrasound, but
an autopsy.
An autopsy. And we just didn't want to put him through that. I know from my point of view, we were also kind of nervous of discovering something maybe we had missed. But so we didn't really have any answers. That's hard to kind of talk about when people ask about my loss. It's kind of unknown. I wish I knew. I wish we knew, but there's kind of also beauty behind it. We don't know.
I think there's so many families in your same shoes, though.
Yeah.
So I give you a lot of, thank you for being courageous enough to just say that and live your truth and share your truth, because I think so many of our families go through their grief journey in silence because they don't know how to talk about it or what to say. And it's okay to say that we don't have all the answers or we don't know. That is just as okay to share.
Yep. And so after about a day or so later, he was born, and we spent about 24 hours with him in the hospital. And I shared this at the men's group. To me, those 24 hours mean the world to me. Hopefully I don't get emotional here, but I would go back to those 24 hours in a heartbeat, because as a dad, that's the only real time I got to know him. I know there are some dads, and kind of what a lot of them might talk about in this podcast is other things I've heard from dads and that I've experienced as well, that sometimes it's difficult because we don't know our child while they're in the womb and everything. The mothers, they connect, they feel like they know them when they come out or when they're born. But that was the first time I got to quote unquote know him, to meet him, and he wasn't there. So I would go back to those 24 hours in a heartbeat, because that's the closest I felt to him. And then we handed him over, and our grief journey began from there. Kind of how we discovered No Foot Too Small. I don't know the time frame after that, but how long it was. But it was our neighbor had texted my wife a picture of the beer, Angel Haze. Angel Haze.
Yeah, Back Pocket actually started doing that.
Yep, with Back Pocket. No relation with the name or anything. It just was a coincidence.
Yeah.
And, it's just one of those signs. A lot of families talk about signs, and it was just one of those signs, like Haze and Haze. And so we did more research, and then we got involved pretty heavily, pretty quick with No Foot Too Small. Right about when we joined is when the men's group actually started. So I got involved with the men's group right away.
Oh, great.
And my wife got pretty involved with the mom's group as well. I think maybe about a year after that, then we both became ambassadors, and our grief journey kind of transitioned to the celebrate phase of it. I know that's one of the pillars for No Foot Too Small. And then I always tell dads and families, hopefully they get to that celebrate phase. Some don't, and that's totally fine. Some get there quicker, some take longer. But we were kind of in the celebrate phase, and we both decided to take on the ambassador roles for that.
I'm so grateful that you guys chose to do that and chose to live out Hayes' legacy in that way, because you are changing so many other families, in honor of him. Just like being on this podcast is one of them. And so we're really grateful that you guys have leaned in that way. Yeah.
And being an ambassador and like that and seeing the impact has also helped through our grief journey. So it's kind of a twofold thing.
It is. We get back.
I'm helping others, but they're also helping me. There's been some times where I've come to be the ambassador and be the quote unquote lead for the night, but then I just come and say, guys, I need to lean on you tonight. And another dad steps up and takes that ambassador role for the evening and kind of, leads it. And that's the beauty of the men's group and No Foot Too Small community, to where even though I have an ambassador title, I'm still a grieving dad, and we can help each other out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I love the idea where he said that he is with us, because I always introduce, whenever people ask me how many grandkids I have, he's just always part of that. And just even if he's not here, he's always mentioned, at least mentioned. So
I love that you do that.
As a kid, as one of my grandkids.
Yep. So. And that's a struggle and a topic we hit a lot on the men's group is how to answer that question. How many kids do you have? Some say, they include the angel. Some don't. There's, if you don't talk about your angel or you don't mention it in that number, they kind of feel guilty, and that's okay. I have learned from my wife, who learned this from the mom's group, that a good metaphor is you will know who to let through the front door. And,
that's profound.
Or who to leave out on the porch. And that's okay. There's people in your life that right now I would talk to anybody about Hayes, about my angel. But to some people, if you want to leave them out on the porch, that's totally fine. Say I have 3 kids, or if you want them to come through the front door, I have 4 kids. So there's no wrong answer to that question, to where if you don't include them on one of the answers, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I'm one that I kind of use that as an introduction to introduce people to No Foot Too Small. When I get out there, I say, we have an angel, and they'll go, oh, why? And I said, there's an organization that we help. And then I explain what their mission and what they're trying to do. And that just kind of helps us to start to spread that word out. The people that don't have any idea about it. And you'd be surprised how many people will say, wow, I have a niece, or I had somebody that I knew it was in that same situation. What's the website? What's the name of the organization? Again, so that we can get them connected. So it's always trying to push. I wasn't a marketing guy, but I'm always willing to push.
You sound like one now. You're doing a great job promoting us. Thank you for that. And actually, I do want to touch on that, Steve, because I think, I'd love to hear your perspective when you found out what Natalie and Jay were going through. You are grieving for your son, but you're also grieving the loss of a grandson. What was that like?
That's right. And it was hard. We got the call that night, raced down because we needed to we needed to take care of Grayson, and we just kind of spent the night. And when we heard the word in the morning that he had passed, that he was stillborn, a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
But it was hard because it wasn't only that we'd lost a grandson, but it was that what Jay was going through and Natalie was going through, and it was something we couldn't fix. Mm-hmm. It's hard that way because it's their pain. When they were kids, we could fix things. This is something we couldn't fix. We continue to try to be supportive, ask when we need, when things need to be asked, but also know at the same time with that look in his eye, I don't think it ever goes away.
Yeah.
But you know when to ask, when not to ask, simply because you just know your kids.
Yeah.
And Natalie too. We're very supportive, not just Jay, but Natalie and the family. So.
Yeah. I mean, they're both your children,
Absolutely.
And I'm curious, something that I have seen in a lot of these conversations too, is just kind of the generational differences and how we navigate loss. And so I'm curious, I think it sounds like you and your wife handled this beautifully and were so supportive, but how did you maybe come to decide that was how you wanted to respond? Or were there examples in your life that you had seen that encouraged you to respond in that way?
No examples other than 39 years ago, we had 2 miscarriages. My wife Ann did. No kind of resources back then, and to learn how to grieve, how to do it. So it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's step up. And when they got involved with No Foot Too Small, and it's like, let's just go dive in and be very supportive and push that mission. Here I am being the marketing guy.
Well, I'll hire you. You can come join my team. I'm a one-woman show. I think it is
grieving in a different way, especially being a man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of internal stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why when I get on the beach and did do some shelling, that Hayes was involved. So
yeah, I want to talk a little bit about some of those things that, we do acknowledge that everybody grieves differently. It's not even male, female, mom, dad. Everybody has their own unique way of handling grief, right? And so I'd love for you to share what you shared with me when you came here today, just how you honor and remember Hayes in your own special way.
And we do a lot of personal things. They talk about personal things, and we've got a plaque of Hayes. Is every picture we take of the family, his plaque is involved because he is one of our grandkids, and one of the family. And then we go to Florida every year, and that first day in January after he passed, I went down to the beach and I said, all right, Hayes, show me a sign. So what he did is he showed me a shell, and it's called an auger. And I picked it up and I said, okay, we're gonna look at augers. So that was kind of his special sign. We had a little talk, and So I came home and we put those some of these first year ones into a little heart, and it sits in our kitchen every time. Well, being the young man he is still, he decided that there are days when I should have augers. So there's been days when I found one or two, and there's been days when I found a half a bag, and I have to talk to him and say, "All right, Hayes, enough.
Slow down.
It's slow down. It's been enough." But you know what? Like I told Robin earlier, I pick every one of them up anyway. So I have 3 or 4 bags of these. So if anybody ever wants any augers, let me know. But it's a shell. So just kind of a special way that we talk.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And we sometimes compare the ocean and water to kind of grief, right? And so it's just this vast space that we don't understand and that we will never fully be able to grasp. And I think that's a really beautiful symbol for what those of us who have lost a child go through. Is just, it really is kind of an unexplainable, vast thing that we will never truly understand, and we won't always know the why, but there's still so much beauty in it. And so I love that symbolism for that reason. And
then those beaches and those kind of situations are my happy place.
Yeah.
So
I always tell dads, kind of some of the things that he talked about earlier about the generational gap, but also just men in general don't want to share their feelings. It's amazing how many dads do come to the men's group with their head down, and then by the end of it, they kind of realize that they needed to get this off their chest, whether they come one time or they continue to come. That's great. At least they took that step forward.
What do you think it is in those groups where that transformation happens for them?
I think when they just see other dads, opening up about it. There's some dads that come and say, my wife dropped me off, and they don't really want to be there. And then, halfway through, you kind of see them perk up a little bit. And that's one of the most rewarding things as being an ambassador, is seeing that moment to where, it is okay to talk about that and express my feelings. I feel more of a man, that I can express my emotions now rather than bottle it up. And I always tell dads, it's okay to have those days where you have your head down and internalize it and get back to that stigma of men can't share. It's okay to have one of those days once in a while, but once in a while, lift your chest up and lift your head up, and there'll be signs like the augers and the shells to where it'll make you put a smile on your face. We've had many signs like that throughout the 4 years we've lost Hayes, and they're amazing. Yeah.
I love that. And you guys have gone on to have 2 rainbow babies now, right?
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about that journey, because I know that is a whole other unique journey in itself after loss too.
Stressful, very stressful.
Yeah.
Because since we didn't know the why with Hayes, the next one, our rainbow baby, Addison, was very... It's weird, because you're expecting an angel, or you're expecting a rainbow baby. You should be excited. But I felt, and I think my wife would say the same, we held our breath for basically the full 8-9 months that she was, growing, to where, when's that shoe going to drop? But we end up meeting a doctor at the university that was amazing. Before we just decided that we were going to have and continue to have kids, we wanted to have a game plan set. And so we met with one of the doctors at the University of Iowa, and within 5 minutes after we sat down, she answered all of our questions, and we didn't even answer a question.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, were you listening in the car to our conversation? So it kind of, put that to ease a little bit. But during the whole process, we were holding our breath. That pregnancy went smooth. And she's a feisty 2-year-old.
Nice.
And then we just recently, he's not 11 months, I think, of yesterday. Graham, we welcomed him. That journey was a little bit, it was different. He was born early. He was about 2 pounds. And so he was in the NICU for about 90 days, which brought a whole another back of emotions.
Of course, yes.
And brought us back to the days of Hayes. But no, as of right now, we have 2 healthy rainbow babies, and they're they're exciting. Yep.
Yeah, you're busy. I'm sure.
Very, very busy.
Let's
Very
just say
busy.
Graham's a little chunker. I mean, he's grown.
Yeah.
I mean,
He is.
he's a big boy now. So,
But too, we talk about the men's group and the mom's group, and I think after having these 2 rainbow babies, No Foot Too Small has even meant even more to us, because as my wife puts it, those are our time. That is our time to be Hayes' parents.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the men's group, the mom's group, the virtual groups, the bigger groups. It just means that much more that we can include our rainbow babies and Grayson and our extended family in those as well. So it means more. No Foot Too Small means more after that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And one of the reasons we invited you both here today too is because I know you guys are avid golfers in our golf tournaments. And this month we're kicking off kind of our really busy summer of golf events. And so talk to me about participating in those. What's that like for both of you? Do you play on the same team?
we do in a couple of them. And then he also has one where he has his group of friends that, and they celebrate Hayes they celebrate Hayes they celebrate him that day. So with friends, but yeah, he plays a couple. He's the one that hits it way out there. And then the rest of us old men then tried to get it in the hole.
I can't even hit it. I can't even swing and hit it. So you're doing better than me.
It's amazing that whole golf outing thing is just, to me, is just, it's a celebration. It isn't anything more than a celebration of our angels, and the fact that they have a host family or a celebrating family that goes out on the limb there. I mean, to me, from my generation, I could never do that. I don't think.
You're doing it now.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Give yourself some credit for that.
So it's good because, again, it's the way I spread the word. When I walk in, I see people that I know. They call me by my first name, and friends that I bring get to see all that closeness of the family and the celebration of it all. So we have a good time.
I think that's the beauty of the golf events too, or just the No Foot Too Small events as a whole. There's different varieties of events. There's ones that are family oriented, like the Blooms and Butterflies and the Colonel's game and everything. But the golf event, it's more of a celebrate. Let's go out and have some fun. Yeah. Get a team together. Still understand why you're there, but it's more of a celebratory event that we really enjoy.
Yeah, we really do enjoy it.
We enjoy it, yeah.
And especially if anybody wants to get involved, there's the air cannon. I hope they bring the air cannon back.
That was my favorite addition.
They have little games on almost every hole that are fun to get into.
So bring your checkbook.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because you don't want to miss.
There's
always something new and fun like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you brought that up, because that was definitely a highlight. Even just for me to go get pictures of everybody, everyone had so much fun with that.
And we actually had a hole in one.
Yeah.
On that
from
day.
The air cannon,
When we were from the air cannon.
No way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. How come I didn't know about this? I would have been on my cart coming over to get pictures of that.
It was great. We cannoned it to 10 feet, I think.
Made the putt.
And made the putt.
Yep.
And then we went back to another one. We've actually had 2 hole-in-ones.
Yeah. It's because if you do the air cannon, the first shot doesn't count.
It doesn't count. So you're actually laying there in zero. And then that time we made like a 40-foot putt from across the green and had another one.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
It's a good time.
So much. That's the celebration part of it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. I love that. What does it mean to you guys to celebrate Hayes and to celebrate your children as well? What does that mean to you?
It's very therapeutic. It helps us through our grief journey. As I mentioned earlier, hopefully people do get to that celebratory phase. Some do, some don't. But it has really, we've embraced it as a family. It has helped us through the journey of, we can go out and have fun and think of our angel. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom, head down. You can go out and you say his name through the mountaintops and do things through his name and the other angel's name as well. But the community that you see through other families you've met through No Foot Too Small, friends, family, and then there's businesses that come out too, that just shows that you're not alone. I think like 1 in 4 go through this, and it really puts those numbers into perspective that You don't know who's going through it, but
Yeah.
you can be part of this amazing community.
And it is an amazing community. And it just continues to grow. So it started out here in Iowa City, went to Cedar Rapids, went to Dubuque. It's going to Omaha. It's going to Sioux City. So it's growing all over, and actually all over the Midwest.
Yeah.
They're trying to grow. So
we just had a dad in the last virtual on Tuesday from Montana and
wow.
one from Vegas. So
Wow.
it's reaching very
Yeah,
different
we have
parts of the
people
United States,
flying in now from all over the country for the annual gala at the end of the year. So, unfortunately, loss doesn't stop and loss doesn't discriminate. And there will always be a need for this organization and this community until we figure out how to change that. But I think in the meantime, where we really can make a difference is in changing the conversation and changing the narrative. And so when you keep saying Hayes is part of our family, and the active voice in that, the way that we are having this conversation, I want to point that out, because I think that is one way that you are helping to change that narrative and helping to empower other families to bravely share their story.
Yeah, I've been so proud of him and Natalie for getting involved as they are, because that helps us then realize that pain that we didn't think we could help take away, this organization has helped to do that. And just showing, how mature and open he is to getting out there and putting himself out there and helping other people. That's the son we raised.
Yeah.
It also helps through our own grief journey too, seeing our parents and our family, figure out their grief journey as well. And they're not just stuck in the mud, that they're also getting out there and working on themselves too, through the grief too, because it just doesn't touch the parents. It touches the family, extended family, friends, anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a ripple effect
It's like
in every
tentacles,
loss. Yeah, there is. Absolutely. And I think I really admire you, Steve, for sharing your story today too, because I didn't know that. And so, I think the statistics would tell us that more than likely someone else in your family has experienced this. So I'm just curious if you guys don't mind talking about it. Is that a conversation you had before you lost Hayes? Were you aware that your parents had experienced miscarriage?
I was, but I didn't, not pry, but I didn't. Mom briefly talked about it.
Yeah, she would talk, occasionally about it. It would be situations, but it was more of a quiet. It's a generational thing.
Yeah.
So it was 2 in 6 months, 7 months.
Wow.
So, and then we decided, do we just keep rolling? And then we had Jennifer, his sister, and then this guy.
I think she's talked more about it too.
Twice in 17 months.
I think she's talked more about it that I can remember since Hayes' mom has mentioned it more and more.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's just because I've picked up on it more, or, but yeah, she has talked about it, I believe, more and more. Yeah. So
yeah,
Hayes is doing wonders.
He is. He is. All of our angels are. Yeah, absolutely. With this being a Father's Day episode, how has Father's Day changed, or how does it look different for you now?
Since the first year or two after was tough, obviously, because we only had Grayson, our one son, so I could reflect, more on it. Now with 3 kids, some days it kind of comes and goes, but my wife and I have learned, might not be on Father's Day, but days around that, or Mother's Day, that we are together. We are going through the grief journey together, but we also have to have our selfless grief. I've learned that through the years. You have to have your own time too. And so around the Father's Day, and other holidays too, we kind of each have a day to ourselves, so we can kind of focus on and think about him.
Yeah, I like that tradition.
But having that conversation, he is our son. It really makes Father's Day easy, because I know, even though he's not there, I have accepted him as my son.
Yeah.
But there are some dads that can't say that yet, or they don't have that is my son. They have that was my son. And it's difficult for them And that's okay. You know, you hear me talk about it a lot in this podcast, and then the dads, it's okay to have those feelings. And, you know, hopefully you change it, you know, eventually, but, you know, it's okay to have those feelings. Mm-hmm. And if it's a tough day, it's a tough day. I've learned to be in my emotions. You know, if Father's Day is tough for you, let it be tough for you. You know, don't try to bottle it up and push it away. If it's a happy day for you, great. But through our family, at least, you know, with Natalie and I, it's another celebratory day.
I think is when you get to that, he is our son and he is part of our family. I think more days become like Father's Days. It's not just that label of Father's Day that you have one day a year.
Right.
You actually have 365 of them.
Right.
Yeah. So to celebrate them.
Oh, I love the way you worded that. Thank you.
Yeah. We just have our little time in the morning and think about it and talk to him and say a little prayer, and then we move on because we have to move on. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we had an interesting conversation previously where one of the dads said, you know, I haven't moved on, but I've moved forward. Mm-hmm. And the distinction in that I think is really important is that we don't forget them. You know, they are in our life. They are there every day, present.
We shouldn't. Yeah, we shouldn't.
Yeah. No, we shouldn't. But you do have to find a way to move forward. And that's where the courage and the resilience, you know, really just keeps us going. But I'm curious what advice both of you would give to other fathers, maybe not in the same place of their grief journey that you're in right now. I know you've touched on how celebrating can be a hard concept. And I think celebration is a hard concept in a lot of scenarios in life, right? I mean, not just loss, but what advice would you share with another dad that's experiencing loss right now?
Yeah, I would say just be in the feelings that you're feeling that day. I've seen it many times to where, and I still experience this, even though I'm in the celebratory phase, there are days to where I get knocked back to day one, and that's okay. I've learned that's okay. To where really, just be in the emotion that you're in and don't be scared to show that emotion. You know, there are so many dads, and I went through this the first couple months after we lost Hayes, just bottling everything up. Nobody needs to know. You know, I need to worry about my wife and how she's doing. But we have both learned again that selfless grief, you know, work as a couple, but also we're not going to align where her grief journey is on that day with my grief journey. Mm-hmm. You know, she could be 2 steps forward and I'm 2 steps back, and that's okay. You'll hear me talk about that's okay to be in those feelings. But don't be afraid to take that step forward. As you just mentioned, you know, we don't forget, as you should never forget, but you need to move forward and, you know, don't. Yeah.
You know, I think the advice I would have would be, you can kind of tell if it's a good day or a bad day a lot of times. And sometimes it's nothing more than just a hug or a few words at how are you doing today? And if there's no answer, then you just know that that's the kind of a day it is. Yeah. So don't push and just embrace and let them know that they're loved.
Because I went through this too, that you want to have the fix. You want to have them know the answer to something right away within that day, within 30 minutes. But as I just mentioned, being, you know, who you are that day and your emotions that day is totally fine. It really helped me get through my grief journey. And I think it would help dads take that step forward of, okay, today is this kind of day. Today is this kind of day. And that'll help you with your journey forward.
I think it's really admirable that you've come to that place. I'm just curious how, first of all, I love the term selfish grief. Mm-hmm. Where did you and Natalie hear that, or did you come up with that?
I don't know if it was through the mom. I learned a lot from my wife.
Well, we learn a lot from each other in community. That's the power of community, right? That's what I think No Foot Too Small is so great about.
Yeah. I think it might have been mentioned in the men's group, and I kind of picked up on it and kind of played around with it myself to where, and my wife says it, like I mentioned earlier, I say it a lot, she loves the mom's group because that's her time to be Hayes's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of, to me, is like, okay, it's selfless grief. It's her time to work on her grief, to work on herself, even though we're in it together. And I owe it a lot to her through I know there's some dads that don't have that support system, but I have greatly leaned on her. After we lost Hayes and I got to the hospital that night, basically the first thing she told me was, this will not define us. This will not hurt us. And I don't think I never thought I would love my wife more than that moment. And that's kind of been our motto going through it. It will, this will not define us.
That's amazing.
It is.
I mean, she's a superhero.
Even though this is the Father's Day, the dads and everything, but I have really leaned on her. She's been amazing. The Rock. I don't know how she does it.
Well, I think it's a beautiful message to find your community, right?
Yeah.
And we hope that many of the dads coming to us have a spouse or a partner to lean on, but in the situation that they don't, we have that community and it's here and it's waiting for you. And
yes.
There are people here you can lean on. So I think that reminder is what is so special about the story you just shared, because you can't go through it alone, and nobody should have to.
And that's why we continue to market it. There you go.
New team member.
There you go.
I know I heard recently that somebody in one of the dad groups said, I thought this was just going to be sad dads or something. And
yes.
So we've talked about coming up with a new merch line that says not just sad dads.
Yes.
So maybe you can come on and help me market some dad merch.
And there you go.
We always joke at the dads group, or I tell potential dads that haven't been to the men's group, it's not, lay on the couch and tell me your feelings right away. It's let's go have a drink. Let's go have some pizza. We never hit the budget of what the moms group does for that night. And so we eat well, we drink well, and we have some fun. But, we do talk about our angels, and it's really amazing at the end of the day of how those people lift their heads up and say, oh, this is really what the dads group is about. And it makes those future events that much more special too, because you're not going in with your head down. Mm-hmm. You could know 10, 15 families and dads and, build that community to where I think that's also a nice thing about being an ambassador, being involved in the men's group is you get to meet friends. You get to build that community. So when you do go to those other future No Foot Too Small events, it's that much easier and that much more impactful. And it's fun. It's fun to go.
Yeah. You've kind of hinted at it, but I'd love for you to just describe what a men's social club meeting is like for the dad who is listening to this, considering going, or whose wife is like, you should go, I'm going to drop you off at the next one. Just walk us through what a typical night is like.
Yeah. So we, in Des Moines, they are at a nice restaurant where the food is good. At Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, we're at Cedar Ridge with some good spirits and wine and pizza. And then in Dubuque, they're at the Back Pocket with some good beer and some good food there too. So, a way to a guy's heart is through the food sometimes. And so I always like to push, we have good food, we have good drinks. But kind of when everybody arrives, we, introduce ourselves if we haven't met. If we have, we catch up on our daily lives. Again, that's the nice thing too about the men's group is you get to know the person more than just the angel. You get to know about their life. And so that kind of, it's a night away kind of from your family to where you can kind of just relax and share. We talk about sports, we talk about current events. But then about halfway through, we do dive deep into sharing our stories. What is everybody feeling today, or what recently have you felt, or objectives that you are holding that you want to get answered. So we do dive into those tough topics, but it's not just in the first 5 minutes, tell me how you feel. It's, come have some fun. We always say, come as you are. Joe Yoakum, one of the other dad's ambassadors, I think he did that term a lot, is come as you are.
Yeah.
You don't have to share. We've had some dads come to sit there and listen, and that's totally fine. We're not going to pressure you to share or anything. Love if you do, but if not, you just want to come and take a look at it, totally fine, but come as you are. Yep.
I think I had a missed opportunity here. I should have picked up some Angel Haze on my way to the studio, and we could have had those as props.
We always got some in the fridge at our
we
house.
Always have some we always have it in the fridge.
Oh, I love that. Well, shout out to Back Pocket for being a great partner in that, because I think we also maybe don't bring enough attention to some of the other organizations that have leaned in and partnered with us and helped reach more families. And because what a cool way that's kind of how you found out about us, right? Just a beer at a bar. How unassuming, but the power in that is really neat. And I didn't know that about your story. So
yeah. So it's a big coincidence. One of those signs, like
it was.
What do you tell me, buddy? Like I had a moment with like, what do you tell me, Hayes?
Yeah, he came and gave me some and just go, look at this. And I just went, wow. Had to cry and off we went.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
What are some of the other signs that you think he has sent you over the years?
I know for us, and hopefully this might, some of the dads and families that are going through their grief journey and it's fresh, some of the signs that helped us tell us it was going to be okay right after his passing was when we were picking out his cemetery. We drove through a couple, didn't like it, and then we drove through one, and there were 2 baby deer and a mother deer, and the cemetery where he's buried, it kind of backs up to a nature trail. So a lot of people walk through it, run through it. So it's kind of like there's life in there.
Yeah.
So deer is important to us.
I love that.
Also cardinals are very important to us. I know, speaking of golf, I think it was 2 years ago, we were in a golf league, and I walked back to my bag and there was a cardinal sitting on my push cart. And I went over to him, had a good cry, and said, I think I might need to, not play the rest of the round. But that's what I talk about is there, if you lift your head up, there's signs that you will see that that your angel is there with you all the time.
And butterflies?
Butterflies.
Same thing. I've had, numerous times I'll go back to my bag and I'm walking and there sits a butterfly. It's just like, oh, hi, Ace. Oh. So we like I said, he said, we have a good cry or a little thought to him and say hi, and then off we go. And then we celebrate him again.
I love that.
So
I love that.
And also too, we got our children, or the Grayson, he was 2 at the time, almost 3. We were pretty direct with him on what happened. And so as he grew, he's almost 7 now, he continues to talk about Hayes. So he's very prevalent in our house. There's took some pictures with him when we were with him for those 24 hours. So signs like that too, to where it might be a visual sign, but also, talking about him is very important to our family as well, of not being afraid to talk about his name, especially with our kids.
So and Grayson he's so good. Because he has a brother.
Yeah.
He has another big brother. He's the big brother.
Yeah.
Not just to Graham, but to Ace too.
We have to, every year at school, we have to tell the teacher, like, he's going to talk about his brother. And kind of here's what happened. But he's not afraid to tell his friends or his buddies or his teacher about his little brother.
My favorite part of this whole project is hearing the stories of the earthly siblings and how, man, do they just handle this better than us, right? We are raising an incredible next generation of just compassionate humans. And so I think it's awesome that he's just out there
the other day,
being a big brother.
We say when it's thundering and lightning, it's Hayes up there running around, messing around. And even though he's almost 7, he's finally realized kind of what death was. In the beginning, he didn't know anything about it, but he's finally realized what it was, with the passing of my grandma, or his mom. Kind of helped that too. We kind of understood what it was, but he still acts like that 3-year-old of, my brother's up in heaven running around. That's why there's thunder and lightning. And my daughter has picked up on it too. Oh. She's like, Hayes is up there messing around. And so, yeah.
That's a testament to you and Natalie as parents though. And with your support system for normalizing that for them and continuing to talk and have the conversations that just make that part of every day. And they're not going to question it because because of the way that you are choosing to celebrate him.
Yep. And there's some families that don't do that, and that's fine. And there's some parents that do, and we chose that route, and we're very thankful we did that. Very open and honest with them from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always love to end these conversations with the same question for our families. And I'm going to ask both of you, but if you could say something to Hayes right now, what would you say?
Wow.
Well, I talk to him a lot anyways, so just about my day. So it probably wouldn't be about, what I did today. It would probably be, even though you're not here on earth, I am very proud of you. You have made a big impact in our family's lives and also in our community, that you will never, just how I'm very proud of him. Very, very proud of him. I probably would hug him and not let go.
I can't do anything more than that. I can't do anything more than that. That's perfect.
That's a wonderful question to ponder on. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
I have a book that sometimes I write in. I know there's some dads that like to journal.
Great idea.
But just how proud Natalie and I saw the other day of a picture of, when I die, don't put me in a suit, put me in shorts and the shoes because I have a play date when I get up there.
I've got somebody I have to run around with up there. I've heard that too.
It'd probably be something around that. I'm proud of you. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to play with you. Kind of around that aspect, probably. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
We just wonder how he would fit in when the five of them are running around.
Yeah.
His sister's kids, and you see him going everywhere. And it's just like, man, I wonder how he would be fitting in.
Yeah. Perfectly.
So, perfectly.
He already is.
Perfectly.
He already is. Yeah.
He is. Yep.
Thank you both so much for your time today and for sharing your stories.
Great.
I am so proud of Hayes and I'm so proud of you. So thank you both very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for tuning in to this special Father's Day episode of the No Fit Too Small podcast, sponsored by Carson Wealth. We have to give a special shout out to Storyline Multimedia as well for helping us hold space for these important conversations. If you are a family navigating pregnancy or infant loss, we would love to connect with you. We will include all of the links that you need to get engaged with No Fit Too Small in the show notes, and you can visit nofittoosmall.org. We'll catch you at the next episode.